Good evening, everyone. Well, good evening to you in Singapore. Good afternoon in the UK. Good afternoon, Mrs. Humphrey. Good morning, America. And Gilong, you just have to stay awake for a few more minutes and we'll get this show on the road. Good evening. My name is Leslie Lim. I will be your host for this evening's show. This evening is really a book party. Yeah, and I'm wearing this iconic t-shirt because I always wear this one whenever I host a show for Neil. It just reminds me of him. Tall, lanky, gangly, orangutan. So, but we're here tonight because it's been, would you believe it, like 20 years? I know everybody, when we talk to you about this show, goes, 20 years already? My goodness, where did that time go? But it did, and we're here. And tonight we're gonna have a party. And we're just gonna walk through the book, how it first started, tell you some inside stories. Yeah, the thing that, behind the scene, as well as to reflect on what Neil said he got right and what he got totally wrong. And he'll admit to that. And we'll talk to various other people who shared this journey with us. Yeah, you want to say hello to Neil? There's a chat box underneath there. Just type away. It also happens to be his birthday, 47 years already, believe it or not. And if you've got a question that you really want to ask about the book or about things, then there is also a box there for question and answers. So that's where you go. Chat box, happy birthday, Neil. Question and answer. We'll talk about that in a bit. Yeah. But without any delay, let's bring on the man himself. Neil, where are you? Come on.
I'm here. Hello, everybody. Hello. Thank you so much for coming. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm going to open this right now if I can. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay, there we go. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure. We're going to reminisce a bit about the old days and tell you the stories, how the book came about, how it made me a multi-millionaire. It didn't. And then we'll go from there. So thank you very much for coming. I would like to thank all my friends who are going to kindly speak at the top for coming. And yes, if you have any questions, you want to ask me anything, favorite stories, how they came about, just type it in the chat box. I see lots of messages already. Leslie and I will get to as many as we can. I'm going to do a lot of talking in this hour, so I'll pass back to Leslie. Cheers, everyone. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, cheers, Neil. I'm going to have a shriek too. Hang on. Yeah, people, you got to drink somewhere. Just grab hold of it. Yeah, we're just going to have a party. It's not a presentation of any sort. There we go. Get some drinks there.
My wife and daughter are hiding beneath the camera. I'm not just like, toasting fresh air.
There is a party going on in Sengkang, I see. Okay.
Oh, there's a lot of parties going on in Sengkang, but we don't talk politics tonight. There you go. No politics.
No politics. Okay. Okay. Well, we got to get this on the road because we're going to run out of time. I just know it's going to happen soon. So I want to give some time to the publisher. Let's get that let's get that out of the way, so to speak. I'm sorry, but yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ethel Pang, General Manager of Marshall Cavendish, the brave publisher of Neil Humphreys.
I like that introduction.
Take it away, Ethel.
Okay, good evening, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for attending tonight's book launch. I mean, it really brings me great joy that Marshall Cavendish is publishing this 20th anniversary edition of Notes from an Even Smaller Island for Neil. It's really wonderful to see that we're all gathered here amongst friends, family, and fans. So, our relationship with Neil has spanned across like 2 decades. He's always bursting with energy and spirit, and we are truly heartened to see how his passion for writing has made him the prolific writer he is today. Neil and I were colleagues back at Today newspaper in our early years. He was with the sports desk, and at that time I was with the sales and marketing team. Honestly, I never would have thought that 20 years on, I will be here tonight as his publisher, and very honored to be part of this special occasion to celebrate the launch of this book. Just 2 weeks ago, Neil was at Times Bookstores at Waterway Point. We had a storytelling session for Abby Rose and a Magic Suitcase, and I'm sure Neil would remember this. It was very heartwarming to witness a young mother who brought her child to attend a storytelling session and approaching Neil right after it had ended. She was carrying under her arms a stash of precious books, all of Neil's books, and asking him to autograph away. So here we have an author who's so prolific, appealing to fans, both young and old, and I can't think of anyone else who can top that. So congratulations, Neil. You have come a long way illuminating Singapore with your honest, witty, and perceptive observations. Thank you for sharing with us a slice of your adventurous life in Singapore. And of course, not forgetting there's going to be some unpublished photos in this special edition. So tonight is your night. Cheers, Neil.
Cheers, Ethel. I was listening intently, but I'm still a pillock, because if you saw my door open just now, it was my daughter, commando style, going to the bathroom to get some toilet roll because I just spilled the fake wine all over the desk. So start as you mean to go on, I say. And so I've got my wife passing me tissue like she's a car mechanic, laying beneath me like this. So, it's very, very slick here, I tell you. Very, very slick. Where's the wine bottle? Pass me the wine. And I just answered this question from Ricky Lien very quickly before we go on. Yes, Ricky, it's very good wine. It's Meadows 2021 2.99 fruit juice. Nothing but the best. Nothing but the best at the Humphreys household, let me tell you. Back to you, Leslie.
All right. Welcome back, Sticky Neil. That's going to run all over you, I know. Well, we want to go right back to the beginning, to when the book was conceived. Yeah. And so there was someone there who thought maybe this is worth publishing. Well, I know, Neil, you've got a story about it, but let's talk to our first guest, our first panelist, and I'm asking Catherine Brown to come on and tell us, Catherine, what did you think of it when you first read the manuscript?
I thought it was sort of very different to what I was used to reading at the time, and I remember reading the manuscript going to work on the 93 bus. And I thought it was, a bit of fresh air, really. It was sort of quite insightful to see what Neil had to say about, living in Singapore. And there are a lot of different things that I could relate to, also, having living there as an expat. So, yeah, I thought it was a good manuscript, something that could be worked with, and that it had promise. And I thought there would be a potential audience as well, which there has proven to be.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, Catherine. And great to see you again, by the way. I haven't seen you for ages. But,
I know.
I know, that's really kind. I used to drive Catherine mad. Catherine was great. And as I say in the new book, in the new revised edition, I wrote this book in, 2-room flat, actually, then in Toa Payoh, in my boxer shorts. As everybody knows, that's my attire for everything. And I wrote it and I sent it. And I remember saying to someone at the Straits Times, who I will not name, but they review books for a living. And they said that this book would have no audience. They say, this is another boring expat story. It's been told a million times before. And I kept saying, it's not that kind of book, because I don't live the, in inverted commas, expat lifestyle. I don't even know what that is or what it means. It's not that book. It's going to be a cultural comparison between my working class upbringing in the UK and my Toa Payoh heartland life in Singapore. So I sent it to 3 different publishers, one of which was Marshall Cavendish. And I think I can say this now. It's been 20 years. I didn't go with Marshall Cavendish at first.
No, I remember
went with another. Right? You remember this? I went with a different publisher.
Turncoat.
I know. I was a snide. I went because Catherine said she wanted to publish it, and I went, oh yeah, great, fantastic. And then I went to another publisher, and they also wanted to publish it. Lovely publisher. I know the guy. He's still, publishing books today, but he wanted to say it's a very good manuscript, but I want it to be more like Simon Tay, kind of alien Asian kind of book, and that's a good book. It's nothing wrong with that book, great book. But he wanted to make it more academic, and straight away I was thinking that's going to kill my book sales. That is, if I make it more academic. I think the best parts are the quirky parts. Then I went to another publisher, and they just got it. I mean, they got it. Lovely guy. He said yes. He came up with the title. I must give him credit. Notes from an Even Smaller Island. That came from this other publisher. We get it done. We're at almost printing stage. I'm on a 167 bus. I have never forgotten the bus number because I've never forgotten this trip. The phone goes. It's the person who's editing the manuscript, the Catherine Brown of this publisher. And I've thought they're going to tell me, right, print dates. Neil, I've got some bad news. What's the news? The publisher has just gone bankrupt. Oh, and we're all about to lose our jobs. Oh, and we don't even know if we're going to get paid this month. Oh, are you still going to publish my book? And I felt so bad for saying that. You know, I wasn't quite as obvious as that, but that was my thinking. And I remember sheepishly going back to Catherine and the guys and saying, you know what, I've given it some thought, and I think you guys are fantastic. And the reason for it, and this is credit to Catherine, the reason for it was and I'll say this now, and I say this in the revised book, I was a 24-year-old who knew everything. I knew everything about Singapore. I knew everything about publishing. I knew everything about audience. I knew everything. At 24, I knew everything. I'd been in Singapore for 5 years and I knew everything. And they wanted to make some changes. And I was like, what do you mean changes? It's perfect. You publish it as it is, word for word. And of course, I realized 25 years on, that's not quite how it works. And Catherine, I have to say this, absolutely magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Did a fantastic job. And, you know, I wouldn't be sitting here if Catherine hadn't done the great job, and the rest of the team at Marshall Cavendish, if they hadn't done the job they did. So thanks.
That's okay. I just remember one word to describe you is persistent.
Or pain in the arse, some would say. But,
It begins with a P, but I wouldn't say that.
Sorry, Mum, I forgot. I'm going to get it now. Okay. Sorry, but yes, fantastic job. Thank you so much.
That's okay. You're welcome.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Catherine. You know,
Thanks, Catherine.
We've got a line in the book that Neil wrote in the original book, and it says, I want to thank my editor. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears along the way, and she just wiped them all off the manuscript, and we carried on.
I think that about sums it up, really.
Well, I mean, you know, we did something because I wanted to show this. So this is the first one. This is one of the first copies. So this is 2001, November 2001, December 2001. Yep. This is the second one after we reached 10,000 copies. Yep. This is and I'm not including reprints. These are just new covers. This is the third one when we reached 15,000 copies. This is the fourth one. And I'm not sure. I'm not allowed to talk about the sticker. Okay. This is the fourth one. Same book. This is the fifth one. And for some reason, this is the sixth one. And someone gave it a subtitle. Didn't last long. This is the seventh one. This one I remember vividly because this one came out when I was in Australia. And it was then the publisher, Chris Newson, said, I want to publish, your books are still selling well, and we want to give them a revamp. And he sent me this, and I said, it's crap, right? Again, arguing. And so I showed it to Tracy, my wife, and she said, I like it. I said, what do you know? And then I showed it to my sister and my brother-in-law, and they was like, I like it, it's better. And then several thousand copies later, I was like, all right, Chris, you were right. So we did that one, and then this is in the book very briefly because people asked me. So I wore this shirt. My wife took this picture. I wore this shirt, and then I became very superstitious when the book sold well. So when they reprinted it subsequently, I wore the same shirt, and I asked Photoshop to turn it pink to make it look like I didn't only own one shirt. Then the same shirt was turned yellow, in Photoshop. So all of these pink, blue, yellow are the same shirt. I only have the one, and I still have the shirt out of superstitious reasons. And it has a smell that will outlast religion. But that's all I'm going to say. Yeah, so that's what happened.
And we have actually more on about the covers of the book, which Neil has written about in the anniversary edition. So, you know, if you get it, you'll see it. We've got some photos there of what might have been on the cover that we've never chosen in the end, what the final cover looks like. So you get a behind the scenes sort of look into what were the earlier photos that might have been in the front cover of the book. So if you get it, that will be special. Some of them are never seen photos. Yeah, we're not talking about the naked ones either. That's just the cover. Yeah. So yes, the book has been reprinted time and time again. There was one year we had to reprint this book twice. I think it was 2006. Someone thought it was that if you wanted to pass your A-level GP better, that reading Neil Humphreys' Note from an Even Smaller Island would be a good idea. I mean, we can talk about that a little later. But that year, twice we had to print the book. But the book took off November 2001. We thought at perhaps what would be a modest event at Kinokuniya. And so let's hear from Kinokuniya. In 2001 November, this Angmo turned up in the in the bookstore.
Frankly, that was my first year in Kinokuniya.
Right.
And the book came out. All I remember very vividly about the book was the voice was really so sophisticated and so articulate that I love it from the start.
Are you sure you read the right book?
It could have been Oscar Wilde. Oh my God.
No, I
But
appreciate
then-
that. I got to say this to Kenny. Sorry, Kenny, because the Get Way did the first book launch. Now, this is a true
Yes.
story. This is important. You should know this. So we did the book launch November, December 2001. The book came out, did well, went to number 6 on the bestseller list, national bestseller list. And then I don't do this anymore. But of course, like all first-time authors, I went to every bookstore in Singapore and went up to the counter and said, "Excuse me, do you have Neil Humphreys' Notes from an Even Smaller Island?" And I would say I was John Smith or whatever. I went into Borders at Wheelock Place. And this is when the book was on the national bestseller list. And I've never forgotten this, Kenny. I went to Wheelock Place Borders. I said, "Do you have this book?" And they said, "We don't sell local books." I've never forgotten that. 2 months later, the same bookstore asked me back to do a book talk. Same bookstore. And it was packed. I mean, it was absolutely jam-packed 2 months later. So suddenly they did do local books after all. I'm not taking the credit for it, but I am taking the credit for it, actually. But no, I'm not. But yeah, so I have to say, Kinokuniya, I must have had more than a dozen book launches now at Kinokuniya, and it all started there. And the first one with Get Way, I wore tracksuit bottoms. I don't know why. And I wore tracksuit bottoms. I looked like tracksuit bottoms. I didn't. And because it was successful, and I'm superstitious like the shirt, I wore tracksuit bottoms at every single subsequent book launch for at least 10 years, 10, 11 years. Until one day, me and my wife, we looked at the photos of the book launch and she said, "Yeah, you do look a bit of a tramp." So after that, I stopped wearing tracksuit bottoms at book launches, but it all started at Kinokuniya.
So anyway, congratulations and to another 20 years of the Small Island Notes.
Thanks, man. And thanks for everything, Kenny. I'll be in to see you on Tuesday. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Yes.
Happy
yes,
birthday.
For a book talk video.
Exactly.
And we have photos in the book of that launch at Kinokuniya. Just really too bad Gateway is not here, but you know, if she is, you're going to tell her about that, Kenny. Tell her she's immortalized now. A photo of her in the Kinokuniya. Yes, like.
But
Neil
one
with-
thing, Kenny, sorry, Leslie, before you get to the next guest, because I wanted to say this to Get Way because I've never let her forget this in 20 years. the first book launch, we had a few people there, friends and family and that, or friends, sorry. And it was going well. And she wanted to say, this is Neil Humphreys from Manchester University. And I've always made fun of her because to this day, I'm like, well, I'm still not sure what relevance Manchester University has anyway, but never mind. But she got a bit tongue-tied. She was new at the job then, Getway. And she said, and this is Neil Humphreys from Manchester United. And all the story, what? So suddenly all these people came to, and they were so disappointed. They looked at me like, he plays for Manchester United? You got to be kidding me. But so you saw these sort of teenagers, kids, young people come to see I wasn't a Manchester United footballer and then walk away again. But yeah, that was great.
Well, one of my best memories of an event at Kinokuniya for your books, Neil, was where the queue did not end. We started at 2:00. Yeah, you went on talking for about half an hour and then we started the signing already. But the queue refused to end. It was just kept on going. Yeah, and I think we finished at 6 p.m. that day or something. I remember going to the far end of the queue, right to the very back end, and there was an auntie there. And she said, well, like this, must tapao dinner for Toa Payoh already. She was just waiting for so long, but they stayed. They stayed till the end because we promised we'd sign every copy that was there.
Yeah, it were fun times, great times. And I say this not to curry favor, but it's the damn truth. I'm even now 25 books. I'm always grateful when people take the time to come to a bookstore or even to come to this event. Always. Yeah. And no, it's a pleasure. It's when there's nobody there that's a problem. As you and I know, we won't go there. But there has been examples where there is. I mean, we've got Hamish Brown here. He's an MC. Benjamin Lee, MC. Yeah. Talking to no one is the most dispiriting experience of my life. But thankfully, it's never happened at Kino.
Yeah, which is also why I always wear the same T-shirt, like you wear the same shirt whenever I do your events. All right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I also remember bringing bananas to feed you halfway because the energy was flagging.
Always.
Some people don't realize how hard work it is to do a signing, huh?
It is.
Yes. Okay, let's bring on our next guest. We would like to talk next to Mr. Miyagi. Are you ready, Benjamin? Welcome.
Yes, hi. Speaking of talking to nobody and being at book signings, right? My enduring memory of Neil Humphreys is when this was at, I think it was 2015 or 2014 Singapore Writers Festival. So our publisher, Marshall Cavendish, decides that it's a good idea to put us side by side at a book signing. So there's a queue as long as from the Civic District to Toa Payoh for Neil Humphreys, and then there's only one person waiting for an autograph from me. So I actually pre-signed 2 copies and that's about it. So it was the most demoralizing book signing I've ever been at, but it was okay. But it's a testament to this, how much of a titan Neil Humphreys is in Singapore literature. And we always, we commiserate each other at that point in time because we've been invited to several Singapore Writers Festivals, right? And we somehow, I feel like a sideshow, as rightly so, because, not really, I don't call myself a writer and everything, but this fellow, he's the most prolific writer that I can remember. I still remember when I first read his columns in Today, when I was writing for Today as well. Right. And if there's any time you feel an imposter syndrome is when you're writing a column and then you read Neil Humphreys' column and then you think, wow, this guy is going to steal my lunch. Who let this fellow into the country? Basket.
Some more.
Yeah, that's why. So, yeah, so I really admired how he could pick up on things and observe stuff faster than anybody else. And come on, man, I'm born here, okay, Basket. How come I don't know these things? He has picked up on stuff faster than anybody else, So he deserves his place if we have a pantheon of Singapore literature. This fella is literati of Singapore. It's just that we don't feel as if, he's accorded the same stature as you would a poet laureate or something that, you know, the usual literati people, whatever you call it, would actually accord lah. It's quite sad, and I'm quite glad that we have enlightened publishers like apart from that disastrous book signing, Marshall Cavendish actually taking the right punt by backing Neil Humphreys, because I think he deserves it. Just hang on to this fellow, okay? He's going to make you a lot of money in the future. I mean, he's already made you quite a bit of money.
Have made them a lot of money.
Right? I know, right? Well, how many reprints? 6, 7 reprints, I mean, of the same damn book. How you cannot say that same about any other Singapore author. Don't have, okay?
Correct.
It's like, I thought when I got 3 reprints with the stupid army comic book, I thought, wow, damn suck already. This fella 7 one book.
I must
That's
tell you
all I
about
have to
this.
say.
No, that's so kind. I mean, Mr. Miyagi's a lovely guy. We used to have a column together at Today newspaper in the good old days when people still read newspapers. And, you know, I wouldn't get too carried away about the whole column thing, because I am the only person, Singapore, non-Singaporean, whatever, to have a humor column in every single English national newspaper in Singapore. I am the only one. I'm also the only one to be fired from all of them. So, you know, swings and roundabouts, Ben, swings and roundabouts.
Okay, fair enough.
You know, I've been mentioned in Parliament twice, once by name. I mean, these are real badges of honor. Yeah, but one of them wasn't good, Ben.
See, you got it twice, okay? I only got it once.
Yeah, but I do remember, very briefly, I do remember the army book, and because I was doing another book for Marshall Cavendish. It was a corporate book for NParks at the same time, and Glenn, who was involved with your book, I think, was also involved with mine when he was at Marshall Cavendish. And I remember going to a meeting with NParks, and they were saying, "Oh, we want the book to be like this one," and they held up your book. And I didn't know it was your book. I mean, we were friends, but I didn't know it was your book because I'd been away and I didn't know who'd written it. And I was in this meeting, and what kind of book is this? And then I looked at it and went, oh, it's Ben. Oh, it's a fantastic book. It must be a fantastic book. If it's Ben, it must be good, you know. So,
yeah, that's how we support each other.
yeah, we do. But thanks, Ben. And it's really kind that you say that. Yeah, it really is kind. Coming from you, it means a lot. Thank you.
No worries, man. No worries. Really, really an honor to have you as a friend, and also to look up to how you are actually forging forward with whatever you're doing. It's just strength to strength. The energy that you have in your craft, actually, I think inspires all of us, no matter how young or how old we are. I mean, look, I'm older than you, so every time I see you come out with another thing, and if Neil can do it, okay, I'm gonna do whatever I can do, whatever I'm doing lah. Whether even if I don't get published, it's okay. And I'm just forging forward because your energy is infectious, man.
Well, God, I wish you worked for MOE and NAC and STB.
Okay,
and
I'll work
everybody
on
else that ignores me, but that's all right. That's all good. No, thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. We'll be in touch again shortly. Yes. Woo. Neil, we've got a message for you from a panelist who could not be here. I'm going to ask Mindy just to pop that up very briefly for us in a minute. It's from Sadie Jane. Sadie Jane, an ex-colleague of mine, and also you know her from many other things that she's involved in. Yeah, that's the university, yes, the Singapore Management University, the Singapore Institute of Management. Yeah, SIM. Also with the libraries. So Sadie couldn't be with us tonight, down with food poisoning, but Sadie sends you this wonderful message. Thank you, Mindy.
Thanks. And that's really kind of her. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let's talk now to Yvonne Sweeney. Yvonne I'm told, has been a fan of yours from day one, book one. And look at that background. That's testament to it.
Okay?
Yeah.
In tribute of you, I actually did my own background.
Yes.
If I didn't know, Yvonne, that you was a top lawyer in Singapore, I'd be slightly disturbed.
No comments.
Okay?
No comments on that. Okay, what can I say about Neil? Neil is my favorite local Ang Moh author. Okay, But every year that I go to England, I will bring his books to my in-laws. They live in Bolton. So imagine people in Bolton know who Neil Humphreys is. My older relatives know about Singapore through Neil's works. The younger ones know about Princess Incognito. Every Christmas, there'll be books from Neil Humphreys. They're wondering, these Neil Humphreys, okay. So let it be known that as the far reaches of Bolton, your name has spread far and wide, beyond Manchester United, beyond Manchester University. What I like about Neil is that he has the kahunas. I cannot say the word with a B, so I say kahunas, to write what he feels, okay? He has no holds barred, no filter. He comes from the hip and he shoots straight, basically. So what I want to say is that his books are enlightening, refreshing. He's a good ambassador for Singapore. If you ever want Singapore citizenship, right, you know who to ask for the application. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Give that man a tiger, make him a Singaporean already. So what I can say to you is the boy from Dagenham has done good. Happy birthday. Kudos to you. And I wish you all the best in life and another 20 good years. Cheers to you, mate.
Oh, thanks, Yvonne. That's so nice. I mean, that is really nice. I mean, I didn't know about the Bolton thing. I mean, I've been there many times because obviously I went to University of Manchester. I mean, you say people in Bolton know who I am. I mean, there are people in my family who don't know who I am. So I really, I'm a little bit speechless there. I'm going to start getting emotional in a minute. And
don't. That's good. Dagenham proud.
That's really kind. Thanks, Yvonne. And Yvonne's fantastic. Yvonne comes to the launches and she's always supported me. I must say this about Yvonne and generally about Singapore readers quickly, is that I do test my audience. I know that. I'm not stupid. You know, I get a good thing going with the Note series and the Island series, and then I start writing crime thrillers. And they're like, what the? And then I'll start writing children's books and I start going this way and that way because I like to change genres and mix it up. You know, you don't see Bill Bryson suddenly pretending he's Agatha Christie, or you don't see Nick Hornby suddenly do, you know, but I like to try different things. I like to, and some I'm better at than others. But Yvonne has just been fantastic from day one. She supports me. And it's so lovely now. One of the loveliest things that Yvonne mentioned, which is really great, as Ethel said, my writing has reached a whole new generation because of their parents, which is great because their parents will see my kids' books and get them simply because they read my adult books. And so just the other week, I had a lovely girl come up to me with one of my princess books, and the mother said, he's the one from the Void Deck Funeral. That's the one. So, you know, I've got a kid already thinking I'm a moron. So, but it's great. It's gone across 2 generations now, and that's great. Thank you so much, Yvonne.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. I just want to speak briefly about that background Yvonne had, the omnibus edition. You know, I work as new distributor of books, and I got really tired of trying to keep every single one of his books in stock in the bookstore because they'll forget one, right? And they'll buy around and go. So we told Neil, we're going to put it together for you, the 3 into 1, and call it an omnibus. And he goes, what's that? My father used to drive a bus or something.
Yeah, because again, the Dagenham background's coming out, right? And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of it. I didn't have the atas education like some people, right? So when you said omnibus, to me in England, omnibus is what you do when you put all the week's soap operas together and you play them together on a Sunday. So I know EastEnders omnibus and I know Coronation Street omnibus. I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. What, you're going to turn into a soap opera? So I literally, what can I say? But to add to that point, so here's the book. Because I think I'm a working class hero. So it's the 3-in-1, right? As Leslie said, the omnibus. Yeah. I remember this vividly. I was in Australia then, and you called me up and you said, the book is still selling. Even though you've buggered off, the book is still selling. Why don't we put 3-in-1? You put a new introduction, this and that. And I was, no, we can't do that. Working class hero, proud socialist. We can't rip off the people. We can't expect them to buy the same book twice, damn it. And then he said, we can charge this much for it. I was like, oh, okay. And then, fast forward, do you remember this? Fast forward, my wife's nodding. About a year, I got the royalties. I was like, my God, let's buy a car. This book bought me a car, right? And when I tell people that in Singapore, they're like, what? I went, no, an Australian car. Calm down. We're not talking 120,000 COE here. We're talking a couple of $1,000 banger, all right? But yes, that book bought me a car. So Leslie, I owe you a car.
Yes, or a bus.
Yeah, an omnibus. Yeah.
Cool.
Coronation Street omnibus.
Right, and now coming out next, we have live from Thailand. Where he's been the last 8 years, but never mind. Let's bring on Hamish Brown. Hamish, welcome.
How you doing? How you doing, Neil and everybody? First of all, I guess, happy birthday, Neil. I really didn't know it was your birthday today, so it's double celebration or multiple celebrations, if you will. Yes, when you told me that this is going to happen and it's the 20th anniversary, it really, for a moment had me thinking all the way back 20 years and like, wow, has it been 20 years since I first saw you walk into that studio? Because 20 years ago, I remember the first time I met you and we were having that interview, I think you were coming in and I was doing the morning show and they had told us that you were coming in for an interview and I'm going like, okay, Neil, I'm familiar with this guy because, he does articles in the newspapers and stuff like that. And yeah, okay. So he's written a book. All right. And he comes in and the first thing that struck me was, my God, he's tall. Because we have huge studio doors and he walked through the door and he almost hit his head on the top. And I'm going like, this man is big. I mean, if you thought Jaws in James Bond was tall, this guy is tall. But he came in and he was gangly and, immediately, my first impression, he comes in and he's so friendly. He's so full of zest and life. And like he says hi to me. And, I've done the morning show with so many people. Neil, can you remember who it was that I was with on that morning show? Because I think it was Maggie, but if it's not Maggie, it's probably Yasmin.
Yes, I think I don't want to be ageist, but the older lady. The older lady, right? Yeah. So I am being ageist. I apologize. But and you were the first interview I ever did, Hamish, ever.
That's it. That's right. And what struck me about it was the fact that as we were talking, I remember at the back of my mind, I'm going, he's written this wonderful book about Singaporeans, and it's an Angmo looking at our culture, our way of life, and what we take for granted. He comes in, he sits down at a funeral wake and gets into the food, and that's like his first taste of Singaporeana. He writes about it in a book, and I read that passage later on, and literally I burst out laughing, and I'm going like, if I'd ever seen this from the funny side of things as you have, I'd have made a huge ton myself if I'd written it down. And that was just amazing. And I like the fact that every time you see something about Singaporeana, about us being Singaporeans, and you embrace it, Neil, that's what I really admire and appreciate about you. You're, as I said, you're all Brit, but generous dollops Singaporean, and you are a Singaporean national treasure. And I mean every single word about it. And I'm very happy that I can count you as a good friend, a good kaki. I haven't had a chance to sit down and have a good drink with you because it's been 8 years since we've last seen each other and talked and everything. But it would be an honor for me to come back and sit down, have a beer or what is it? What's your favorite poison these days? I don't know.
Water, I'm afraid. I tell you, I would have you on my show. I have a show now, you see. So
there you go.
It all comes full circle, my friend.
Full circle, yeah.
If I find a slot for you, I'll fit you in.
Okay,
all right?
okay, mate.
If someone drops out last minute, you're in. All right.
That sounds like a plan. But
no, anytime, man. Fantastic. You were the first radio interview I ever did. And it went on, quite a long time. And you were so kind because you were really, as you said there, you were really supportive of the book, and you stayed that way afterwards. And not always been the case, I have to be honest, because as Ben said, understandably, sometimes people can be a little bit territorial. How the hell does this Angmo think he knows more about Singapore than we do? Well, firstly, I don't. And secondly, it's just a different perspective. That's all.
I think that's it. Your perspective, because, if a Singaporean wrote about the Singaporean things and everything, it's commonplace, I feel. But your perspectives of things Singaporean, Singaporeana, Singlish, the fact that you embrace everything, you may be Angmo on the outside, but I think you're every bit Singaporean all over, which is great. And, that's just Singapore national treasure, la. And you know how to pepper all that works with it, la, kiasu, kiasi. I'm sitting there and you're saying all these terms and they're coming out of your mouth. And I'm looking at you and going like, this guy can't be Angmo la. He is Singapore, like, this is it. This is him. And I'm really happy. And I'm really, really proud to know you as a friend. And once again, congratulations, 20 years. And I didn't know it was like, what, seven reprints or publications. Leslie, was that the thing? 7?
10.
And it's 10? 10? Holy smoke.
Counting.
And counting. Well done, Neil. Couldn't have gone to a better guy.
Thanks, man. Hamish. I mean, just
better.
a couple of things to be serious for a second, because I did think about this a lot when I was writing why has it endured for so long? This idea about, as Yvonne said, a local Angmo. I honestly believe it's because I get asked this all the time. I honestly believe it's because it sounds pretentious, but I was local even before I was a local. What I mean by that is, me and my wife talk about this, eating in hawker centers and pasar malams was who I was before I got here. I ate in the equivalent of hawker centers. I worked in my family's working class greasy spoon cafe. I went to the working class equivalent of the pasar malam bargaining down at the Dagenham Sunday market or the Roman Road market in the East End. It wasn't a big culture shock. It really, really wasn't a culture shock for me at all. It was just swapping one heartland community for another. And the fact that I was, only 21 at the time, and when I first arrived, and eager to learn, I just think that adds to it. It's a unique confluence of events that happened at the right time for me, and so I'm eternally grateful for that. Yeah,
great.
Thanks, Hamish.
Great stuff.
Thank you, Hamish. Yes. He said, national treasure. Hello, government, are you listening? Where's this man cultural medallion?
Okay, seeing as we wouldn't talk politics, I'll just say this. I was talking to it's relevant, right?
Yeah.
So that it goes across all sides. I was in a toilet in the National Gallery a few years ago, and I was at the urinal, and someone leaned across to me and said, "Hey, Neil, I just wanted to say, keep doing what you're doing." And at first I was like, at the urinal? What? How long do you want me to be here? But he said, just keep doing what you're doing. And it turns out, I'm not going to say his name, but he's a very, very prominent member of the opposition party, right? So that's that side. Keep doing what you're doing. For around a similar time, I bumped into, and I will say his name, I bumped into Lim Swee Say, right? And he also said, I love what you do. It's great what you do. Keep doing what you do in Singapore. So I was very proud of the fact that political opposition, government, didn't matter. They both saw that I had no political agenda. I just saw it as it was. I also know that JBJ's son told me that all of my books were on his shelf and he read them all. I'm not getting into political, but that's just a fact. He read all my books. I also have signed books for the Lee family. I'm not telling you which ones, but I have. And I also went to a school, an elite school. I'm not saying which one it is, Raffles. I'm not saying which one it is, but Raffles Institution. And anyway, no, it wasn't. It was Raffles though. And I told this joke about a prominent political figure and and normally you expect a laugh, but it got this oh, and you felt this wave come out, this oh, and it spread from a very specific center, like an epicenter, and it just spread outwards from Raffles, oh, in this auditorium. And then I saw teachers getting, stressed. And then I said, what did I do? What did I do? I didn't say anything controversial. And they said, you made fun of that minister, something he said in Parliament. Yeah. His daughter is in the room. Oh, shoot. See, I didn't swear that time. Right. So I said, shoot. So, and I'm thinking this is quite serious, right? Because I've made fun of this minister by name and his daughter is in the room. I go outside. This was a lovely big queue to sign books. Right at the front of the queue was the daughter of the minister. And she said, I want you to write that joke in the book. You couldn't make this up. So I signed the punchline making fun of her minister father. And I later heard he thought it was quite funny. So, yeah, there you go. Straddling, I walk effortlessly across the political divide.
Sailing very close to the wind sometime.
Very close.
Moving on to a subject altogether different.
Yes,
Football.
we've got to get to questions soon. Yes.
yes. But before that, football.
Mm.
And we've got here a video clip from a friend.
Neil, I'm so sorry today I'll not be able to be with you this evening, but I wanted to send you this quick message. First of all, I wanted to tell you the happy birthday, because I know today is your birthday, and as an old man like you, I hope you can still walk. I know secretly that you are a very jealous man of me because I'm more famous and much better footballer than you. You are lousy football player, but I can say it truly that you are one of the best writer. Write so many books, and I hope you're going to have a beautiful event tonight about your new book, and I'm looking forward to read. And yeah, so that's all from me for today, and just to say also that I'm more handsome than you. See you.
Alec Durick, classic.
Yeah. I don't know. I should have checked this. I don't know how many goals he scored for Singapore. I'd have to check that out. Try and look up quickly, Alexander Durick, how many goals he scored for Singapore. Yep. But I think I've written more books for Singapore than he scored goals. So we'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. We'll see what the score comes out to be. Yeah.
I've written 26. Find out how many he scored. Right. Yeah, he's a good guy. And
yes.
Of course, yeah. I helped find him a publisher, Marshall Cavendish, and Glenn, who used to work at Marshall Cavendish, helped to write his book. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Great book.
So the scoreline on publishing is Neil many and Alex 1.
Yeah, 25-1, Alex. Take that. Yeah.
Right, we've come to the time for question and I've learned to say question and responses because we don't always have all the answers, do we, Neil?
No.
Yeah, but let's take a look at some of them. Yeah, do we want to? Right. Mike wants to know, how did you meet your wife? I'm not sure we will answer that question on this show.
Can we answer that? How did I meet my wife? We was at sixth form college together, year 12 college together. We was about 17, 18. And she's a fellow Dagenham girl, fellow Dagenham person, I should say. And the story goes that she saw me in the common room. I was wearing a bright yellow shell suit, the same color as the one behind your screen.
Yep.
I was reading the Sun newspaper and I was shouting and swearing across the common room. And apparently she thought, he's an absolute. And then I ended up marrying her. So I don't know what that means, but yeah, that was how we first met in Dagenham. Yeah, when I was 18 years old.
All right. Okay. Neil, the question I have for you is, what question do you get asked the most?
Well, that's a good point, because that was one of the reasons for doing this book. I get two related to this book specifically. One is the void deck funeral true? And the other one is, did you make up the landlady? I mean, mind-boggling. Let's do the landlady first. So for those who don't know, famously, legendarily, I once came, actually it happened more than once, but if I came home from work when I was a teacher early on a Saturday afternoon, she would take off her top, like a sunfu top, and she would wash it in the outside HDB flat sink. In the old HDB flats, this was in Lorong 8, Toa Payoh, Potong Pasir side. You know, you have the kitchen and you have the shower and the toilet and an outside sink between the two, right? In the kitchen basin. So she would be in the kitchen. I saw this. You know, there's not enough therapy in the world for what I saw. She took the sunfu, the top off, and she's washing it in the sink, right? Okay, fine. Except for the fact she had no bra on. Now, fine. So she turns around and faces me. I'm a traumatized 22-year-old Angmo this time. I am looking at a 70-year-old woman who looks in that moment that she's got 3 heads. And all I can say is gravity had done its job. All right, that's all I'm going to say. Gravity had done its job. So, but that's not it. So I'm dumbstruck with terror, thinking, I don't know what to think. I mean, it's not every day I see 70-year-old semi-naked women, ever. So I'm standing there like this, and she, in wonderful Tamil, starts scolding me and swearing at me. I don't know what my crime was, being alive, breathing. I don't know what I'd done wrong. I just walked in and she's screaming at me and shouting at me. Da, 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 da. So I say, okay, I'm sorry. I walk away. But then the journalist in me, the writer in me, thinks, well, what happens next? She's naked. Where does she go from here? Right? So without being a pervert, this is absolutely a true story. Without being a pervert, I kind of half look, but don't look. And she's turned away from me. So she's wrung out the top, the sunfu top. And I swear on my soul, what happened next is true. She pulled in the bamboo pole, pegged it, and then hung it out of the window with her chest swaying in the afternoon breeze, right? And so, you know, me being me, and I was facing another block. They were only 15, 20 meters from the next block in Lorong 8, right? So I'm just thinking, what if a kid happens to be looking out of his bedroom window at the same time? You know, Mom, there's a woman with 3 heads. Where do you start with that? Where do you start? So I put that in the book. Book comes out. Everybody, you know, laughs at it. But I get, more than anything else, I get, oh, you made that woman up. That woman is fake. To which I can only say, what kind of demented pervert would I have to be to make up a story about a naked 70-year-old Tamil auntie just to get a cheap laugh? I mean, there's other ways I can be funny without making up a 70-year-old voyeur, right? So I put that out. But interestingly, one of the best features ever done on my book was a Cao Bao, a Chinese journalist, came to interview me purely, and he was quite a famous journalist. I cannot remember his name now, and it was purely because of that story. He just said it had real authenticity, and then he went into the history of our, you know, Singaporean aunties of a certain generation, particularly Indians. It was quite common to do that, to take the top out, to da-da-da-da. And he said only an Angmo would be brave or stupid enough to actually write about that. So I'd inadvertently, you know, hit on this kind of fading historical tradition without knowing it at the time. So he really liked that. But yeah, I still get asked that. And the other one was, the other one I get asked is the void deck funeral. You know, the void deck funeral, A, did you make it up? And B, why didn't you know it was a void deck funeral? I mean, I'm not spoiling it for anybody. I think they know the story by now. But the gist of it was, my good friend Scott, first night we was in Singapore, very jet lagged. It was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So my friend David, my good friend David, who invited me to Singapore, he said, right, underneath your block, there's a thing called a hawker center. It's on a void deck. I didn't know what a hawker center was. I didn't know what a void deck was. I didn't know what any of them looked like. I'd never seen really pictures. He said, you just go left and there's the hawker center. Of course, we're jet lagged. First night, we go right, but we see all these people sitting at tables and eating, right? So we go in, 2 white men, 21 years old, at 3 a.m. One, as Hamish said, looked like he's been evicted from Planet of the Apes. The other one is a bit like, you know, knee-high to a grasshopper. We do kind of look like Cirque du Soleil freaks here. We go into a void deck funeral at 3 a.m. thinking it's a hawker center because there's tables and chairs on the void deck. We eat the peanuts on the plate. We start to help ourselves to drinks. And people are looking at us like they want to kill us. And then, of course, famously, I was half asleep. Scott, you know, shouts, there's a dead body. There's a dead body. And we're like, who the hell keeps a dead body at a hawker center? What is this demented country? They keep open coffins at coffee shops. It's insane. So I still get, did you make that story up? And no, I didn't. And to quickly bring it full circle, when I was finding photographs for this book, Leslie, you won't believe this, it's true. I didn't know this, right? I found photographs, and if Scott's listening, I found photographs from the first week we were in Singapore, right? And I didn't know this until recently. Leslie, there's a picture that I took outside of the window of a procession, not knowing at the time, only knowing now, 25 years later, it's the funeral procession of that funeral. But I just didn't know then, 25 years ago, because I didn't know what a Chinese funeral was. But now I know. And I said to my wife, I've got proof. I've got definitive proof. Finally, this is the actual funeral. I've got a picture of it. I can put it in the book and I can finally, you know, tell everybody that I was right. And she said, my wife said, so to prove that you're right, you want to put this photo in a book? Yes, I'm going to. You want to put a photo of a dead person's funeral in your book just so you can win a 25-year-old argument? And I was like, yeah, all right, maybe not. So, out of respect for the family, I didn't. Absolutely. But I do have photos. So I have been asked that question in England. I have been asked that question in Australia. I have been asked that question in Malaysia. Did I make up the void deck? Those are the two.
Well, you probably got to get it inscribed on your tombstone.
Oh, definitely.
The stories are true. The stories are true.
You know, my urn, when it ends up at wherever I end up, at Chua Chu Kang or Mandai or whatever it is, it's going to say Neil Humphreys, he saw naked landladies. I mean, that's 25 books and it's still about the landlady.
Which actually brings me to a serious point. People remember the stories and they remember the things that are funny. But sometimes that's all they remember, but that's not the point of the book.
No.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point, Leslie, because, I mean, to be serious for a second, it kind of disappointed me a little bit. That sounds a bit ungrateful, that people focus a bit too much on the funny stories. And they are funny stories, but it's not a joke book. Yeah. If it was a joke book, it would have had one print and that would have been the end of it. It's not a joke book. I don't think Catherine would have published it if it was a joke book. A couple of years ago, I had to record it as an audio book. And I hadn't read the book since it was published. And I didn't really want to do it because I was, you know, what if it's crap, basically, right? I was young when I wrote it. I'm a better writer now, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, there's some of the writing, as I say, it's a bit on the nose and a bit abrasive and a bit honest and a bit too lacking in subtlety sometimes. However, I wrote that, and I don't want to sound like, oh, poor me, but to Benjamin's point, I wrote that book when I was 25. And I think to myself, I will say what Yvonne didn't say, the ball's on this kid. You know, he'd been in the country for 4 years and he wrote like he was an expert. I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert. But now I'm 47, 4 years passes in the blink of an eye. But the idea that I came to a country in 1996 at the age of 21 with nothing but £2,000 that I saved up myself, a suitcase and no job. And 5 years, just 5 years later to the day, I'm up in Kinokuniya launching the first book that ends up becoming one of the best-selling books of the last 20 years. And is now in the history section of the reference library and is taught in universities and so on. I'm a bit like, I don't get enough credit, damn it. But
that got your medallion.
You know, when I read it again, I think, yeah, some of it's a bit on the nose, but also there's some prophetic things in there that I said about certain things like arts and sports and politics and culture and society and education that came to pass. And I wrote that when I was 25. So yeah. And it's more than just a joke book, I think is fair.
Absolutely. Not print comedy. No, I always thought of it as a serious book. If you took it, So Neil, looking back 20 years over this, I mean, you covered some of you cover some of this in the prologue, and if you're listening in and you haven't heard this, I'm talking to the audience. There's a prologue, there's an epilogue, and it's a look back over the 20 years. Some of the things that Neil said, yes, I was right, and still am, and some of the things he said, no, I got that wrong. I just want to touch also, Neil, on writing. I know we've got, people follow you not just to read, but also we've got a lot of aspiring writers in Singapore. Say something to them.
Oh, that's easy. Write what you love and write what you know. Don't try to be something you're not. I'm not J.K. Rowling. I can't write fantasy to save my life, which drives my daughter mad because she's now into the young adult thing and it's brilliant and marvelous and she wants me to write that, but I can't. It's not who I am. It's not what I grew up with. I grew up with gritty social commentators, humorists like Sue Townsend and Jacqueline Wilson and Tom Sharp. And those were the authors that I grew up with. Those are the authors that kind of shaped me. I like writing to be funny and gritty. And so I can't do Kids on Broomsticks, even though it sells very well. I just can't. I admire people who do. So tip number one, write what you love. Tip number two, write what you know. And tip number three, just write. People are always looking for some profound, you'll either write a book or you won't. And I don't know what else to say to that. I remember once I was in Far East Plaza, I was in getting my hair cut and I was next to a guy and he said, "Oh, you're an author." He said, "I'm an author." I said, "Oh, that's fantastic." He said, "I've written 6 books." I said, "Wow, at that time, I'd only written 2. That's amazing. 6 books. Good for you." He said, "Yeah, they're all in my head." Okay. All I've got to do is, then that person's never going to write the book, right? So if you're going to write a book, right? If you're going to be an engineer, be an engineer. Get up, be disciplined, start writing. Don't worry about how good it is. Don't worry about how long it is. Don't worry if it's the right audience, the right tone, the right genre, the right this. Is it marketable? Is it this? Just write it and then do with the other stuff later. Yeah.
Brilliant. We're going to take a question from the audience.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions and I don't want to ignore them.
We've got one from LL Tan and it says, will you rework the 4-letter words in a revised edition to make the book more appropriate for kids?
You know what, LL Tan, thank you. I know LL Tan. She's a regular listener of my radio show. Thank you for that. I have discussed this. Originally, I was very snobbish and arrogant and, holy end and all that. No, you don't change a word. You don't change a comma. And all the rest of it. But I was on Hamish's show, actually. He won't remember this. I was on Hamish's show when we had someone say, a parent say, they can get their kids to read 2 books only, Harry Potter and mine. And the kid was about 11 or 12, and it wasn't really age appropriate, if I'm being honest. And so, but it happened anyway. Leslie, you have no idea. Victoria School told me a story that one of the teachers had photocopied 40 copies of the book. I mean, I can't even imagine what the photocopying bill was like. 40 copies of 200 pages, and the fact they hadn't paid any royalties, and the fact that typically there's a massive copyright issue there. But you know, working class hero, whatever.
Yeah.
And but she was teaching it to her secondary school. I know this because someone who lectures in a university in Hong Kong told me he was using my books for their Southeast Asian Studies course, but they're not really taught here or used here. And I don't, you know, I don't want to get political, but that's part of the issue. It's warts and all. I don't sanitize anything. So there are some fruity parts, and there are some, you know, issues that, you know, are not whiter than white, pun intended. And so I was asked, would I sanitize it? Originally, I said no, no, no. But as I've got older, I have discussed with Ethel, I would consider doing a non-swearing version, if you like, for a younger audience, just so they read it and then they would go on to the next one. However, and I'm trying to be diplomatic here, however, that is one hell of a slippery slope to go down. Where does it end?
Yep.
Where does it end? The book might end up being 2 pages long. You know, and Angmo went to Singapore, the end. What else? You know, you can't talk about arts like that. You can't talk about education like that. You can't talk about local sport like that. You can't talk about local politics like that. You can't talk about public housing like that. All of these things I refer to in the book, where does it end? And honestly, Leslie, they find the book anyway. They find it anyway. I've seen it for 20 years. They get to about 13 and 14. Oh, it's a Singapore book with rude words and naked landladies. I'm in. I don't really have to do a lot of marketing with teenagers with this book, to be honest.
No. They
find it. They find it.
Yeah. I think some of them don't listen to how the teenagers speak sometimes.
Exactly.
Before I forget, I want to say, I wish I had remembered to bring on a birthday cake. It's your birthday and we're having this talk and we're not having a party.
Well,
so.
I didn't want to say, but what about these questions? I've seen some questions, so let me answer some. I've got Husna. Do you actually have a name for your fans like most celebs do these days? Yes, they're wonderful. I don't have a name for them.
I think that's what she was getting at. You want to give them a name.
What? I don't
know.
Like Bieberites or something. I don't know. What do you call them? I don't know. Benedict Cumberbatches or something. No, nothing but gratitude, really. Nothing but gratitude. And just, gratitude, really. Did the landlady know you featured her? Oh. Catherine. No. One thing about the first book, and I do think I may have changed it with subsequent reprints, I'm a bit scared to go back and look, is I think I did, was how naive I was. I just put everybody's name in it without asking them first. God, I blush thinking about it, you know, landlady and this one and that one and, you know, other people and one or two people were not happy at all. So yeah, but what I do know with the landlady, who I did name in the book, I can't remember if I kept the name, but I did name. Yes, her son got in touch with me because by then I'd long since moved out, and honestly loved it. I was so worried. He absolutely loved it, and he loved it because that was his mum. She was an absolutely terrifying, take no prisoners, tour de force of nature. That, you know, I'm very gushing about the pioneer generation in Singapore. I devoted a whole chapter to the wonderful, terrifying aunties and uncle mafia of Singapore. I'd never seen anything like it. You know, I grew up in Essex, and, you know, the elderly would sort of cower in the corner. Then you come to Singapore and you've got aunties and uncles elbowing you to get on the bus. And if you think about the height difference, when an auntie elbows me to get on the bus, it's a miracle I had any kids at all because of the, you know, because of the age, the height difference. It's happened to me more than once. Jesus Christ. You know, you have no idea how many auntie fair price shopping bags have hit me in the wrong place over the years. So that's who she was. She was terrifying. One time, it's in the book, my wife put out some washing on the bamboo pole, and someone above, in HDB flat, big no, hung out a sopping wet duvet, and it soaked all the washing below, including my wife's. The landlady, and I'm not making this up, this sounds like it's out of a sitcom. She actually rolled her sleeves up like she was going to war, right? I don't know why. She actually rolled up her sleeves, and it was like, hang on. She went upstairs. I heard her go up the stairs. This is a long time ago. No bloody spoiled, pampered lifts on every floor. Back then, it was like every other floor. So she had to walk up, 70 plus, this woman. Well, I heard her just hammer this neighbor in Malay. I always said, right, she only spoke 3 languages: Malay, Tamil, and swearing. Those were her 3 languages. And she just hammered this thing. And all I heard was a man, not a woman, a man go, sorry. And the washing was taken in within seconds. So the son loved it. Yeah, very accurate response. All right. What's happening here?
I said I wish we had a birthday cake.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Neil. You deserve every bit of it, every year. Thank you for 20 years. Amazing.
Thank you. I'm a bit humbled. And now I feel bad. You know why? Because off camera, I've been shouting at him, stop opening the door. Sorry. Stop opening the door.
Okay.
That's very kind. Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't drop it. Don't stuff it in your face. See it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, that's very nice. Did we answer any more questions that we missed? I don't want to miss any. I think we got them all right, Leslie.
I think we got most of them. Mike Ang wants to know, is it fitting that your glass is in Liverpool red? But I don't want to start a football conversation. No,
absolutely not. Oh, Husna, the personalized books. Yes. Yes. Leslie, you know about that, right?
Yep. Right, everyone. We've had this endless request to say, where can I get Neil's autographs? So we specially arranged it to be able to be done. And Mindy will put into the chat box here a link. Yeah, there you go. If you click on this link, you can order your book from Times the Bookstore, and on that field where you order the book, there will be a box inside. I would like this to be personalized. I want to dedicate this book to my mother, my grandmother, my father, my mother, whoever name you want, and Neil will sign them all, each and every one of those for you there. Yeah, so just click right on that and you'll be able to get that. Or you can get your book from any bookstore. Kinokuniya's got stacks of them, and you just have to find Neil one day, catch hold of him. Don't wait 20 more years. Just carry them around. Yeah. We'll see how it goes. We would love to get back into a live setting in a bookstore where books can be signed as soon as COVID, Omicron. I don't know how to pronounce that word, Neil. It's all Greek to me.
Yeah, I have a word for it, but I won't say what it is.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But as soon as we can get that going, then you'll have the chance to get your book signed again. But if you want it, you want to order it and get it signed at the same time, we've made that available on that link. You just have to click through on that in the chat box there.
All right. Thank you so much.
I think we're gonna, Neil,
we
give you the last words.
All right. Thank you. Well, first I want to say thank you to everybody who came, but particularly to all the panelists. It does mean a lot to me. I know it's Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. So thank you very much from Singapore, England, Thailand. Thank you. And thank you to everybody who came. It does mean a lot to me. I do appreciate it. So thank you for that. And I'll leave you with a quick story that sums up the whole journey. And because it's a true story and it's in the book, and it kind of sums up everything that everybody said. Catherine, Ben, Yvonne, Hamish, everybody, even in Sadie, Kenny, because it sums up the book really, and my weird life and journey. About 4 or 5 years ago, this is a true story. I was queuing up in a pharmacy in a hospital pharmacy, and the guy had gone off to get something a bit delicate for me because I do a bit of running, or I did then. And while he was gone, the pharmacist getting my prescription, this woman came up to me. She was in the queue and she said, "Are you Neil Humphreys?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I'm so glad I finally met you, because I wanted to say that your books, your notes books, when my mother was very sick, I would sit on the end of her bed and read her books, your books. And she'd ask me to repeat certain stories, like the landlady and the void deck funeral and the taxi driver and this one and that one. And she would laugh. And she was very, very sick and in a lot of pain. So it would give us a bit of joy, those moments shared, mother, daughter, laughing together. And I always hoped to meet you because I wanted to say that she's since passed away. And when I think now of when she was quite sick, I try not to think of the pain and the suffering. I try to think of the time when we were sitting on the bed reading your books, having a laugh, and I see her laughing. And I just want to remember that. And now that I've seen you, I wanted to thank you. And what do you say? I was speechless. She had tears in her eyes. I was getting a bit emotional myself. And there was this awkward silence. I genuinely didn't know what to say. I was so touched. And then it only happens to me. While this pause is there, this awkward pause, the pharmacist comes back and goes, "Hey, Humphrey, I got your creamer for your groiner. Must apply her 3 times a day on the groiner for the itchy bitter, the itchy one. So the itchy groiner, you must apply the creamer, no problem." So within the case of 5 seconds, I've gone from, respected, intelligent, whatever, author who comforted a loved one, to an angmo with an itchy groin in the space of 10 seconds. That's my life. That's my journey. That's what these books have done. And I'm so proud and so grateful. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. That's it, really. So thank you very much. And buy the book because the kids need new shoes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this party. Do get hold of that book if you want that personalized copy. It's again showing up in that chat box, or just go down to your favorite bookstore and get it then. If they don't have it, ask them, why the bloody hell not? If you don't stock it, I'm going to send Neil to you.
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of the evening. I know it's Sunday night. It's here in Singapore and in afternoon in the UK, and America has woken up and Geelong's gone to bed already. We'll see you again another time, not in 20 years' time, but we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, all the panelists. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who came. Thank you.
Hamish.
Thank you. Cheers, Hamish. Cheers, Catherine.
Yep.
Cheers, Yvonne.
Yvonne.
Cheers, Ben. Cheers, Kenny, Ethel, Leslie, Max, City, Dom,
Yes.
Rob, Yvonne, Mike, Ricky, Natalie. I'll plug you all. Hello, Tan. My good aspiring partner there. I can see him. Glenn Van Zutphen. Thank you. Everybody, Hasna, all there. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you. And cheers.
Thank you.